But you've done so many things. You obviously you're a coach who knows what you're doing. Yay. You help people and you use that tough love to bring out the best in folks. But you've done, media and communications, and you've been using your words in powerful ways in many contexts. So I wanted to know for you, because you're starting and you're studying something right now and you're going off in a different direction professionally. What is the thing that you want to use, your words for right now? What do you want to be able to bring out in the world through your voice at this point in time?
Yeah, look, there is a method to the madness. And the method, it really is the thread that runs through everything is social justice and creating a world where everyone thrives, including the most marginalized, overlooked. People need to thrive. And people like you, me, and various others use whatever is at our disposal to ensure that people thrive. And so when I was starting out in my career, it was journalism. I had actually thought I was one of those people who was going to be everything from day to day, makeup artist, flight attendant, psychotherapist, lawyer. So I went into university thinking I'd be a lawyer. And I found journalism in my junior year. In my third year, the promise of journalists for me was one of witnessing, this ringside seat to history being made. The second thing for me was telling stories that allowed people to make decisions, for themselves that govern their
Yes.
lives, and which you then think will translate into a better world for all. And that's not necessarily the case. Hence, what am I doing here? And burnout, cue burnout and existential crisis. You give people information and then they, you know,
They're not doing anything with it. Yeah.
isms and isms and isms. So what is the point of giving people information if they're going to, go for the least common viable denominator? So journalism was great in the sense of, I think it's clear that I need challenge and novelty, and it gave me that, different scenarios and people and events and situations and different skills. Sometimes you're interviewing a person and holding space. Sometimes you're challenging them on behalf of the public. Sometimes you're trying to get the information out. So that was interesting. And then I recognized that I needed a bit more, that there are all these things I can do and I want to do them. Okay, I don't like doing just the one thing. And so you pick up on, there are these people who are doing this great thing, but they're not great at communicating their story, or they're not great at finding people, or they're not great at disseminating their findings. And it's like, well, if you just did one, two, three, four, and then I know this person who you really need to speak to because they do X, Y, and Z. So that's how I started, spreading my tentacles out. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it, especially with the social impact focus, was because I was on air as a broadcaster, I was recognizable. It was, my face was recognizable, my voice was recognizable, which meant that people would call me up. I went through a period in Kenya where private schools would call me and ask me to come and speak to their students. And it just got me thinking, you don't know me. Somehow you found my number and you called me. And such is your confidence that I will show up and speak to your privileged students. So, what happens to the students in schools that have no access to people to come and speak to them? And that was the start of several fellowships, okay? Several
Okay.
fellowships in, exploring social entrepreneurship, multiple fellowships around social impact, because I didn't know what I was doing. I'm a journalist. So I started one community based organization. It was called Romani Life Group, and we ran for about 4 years. And what we did was we mobilized donations and volunteers to go and speak to students in under resourced secondary schools across Kenya. We would stage career days for them. And then when I got frustrated with the media and quit in a huff, I then started leadership development, professional development for young communicators. The idea being that you will grow in your careers and you will become leaders. And so you need to know who you are. You need to be aware of your values and your value system. You need to have all of these skills in order to ensure that when you go into the media, because we have issues in the media, we have lots of challenges, and I'm sure you're aware of them, particularly within the legacy media. There's the existential challenges of declining revenues and digital onslaughts.
Yeah.
There is everybody thinks they're a journalist because they've got a device or they've got access to a platform where they can, keyboard warrior their way around, issues. Um, and so you need people who are good, strong, capable leaders because journalism is a valuable service to society. I think there are questions around how we have lost public trust, whether it's international or locally. There are questions around how robustly we have met the challenges of our time, including authoritarianism, including dictatorship, including
Yeah.
clickbait.
Very
But
true.
having come into coaching and training and facilitation and leadership development, I feel very strongly that we would see a difference if journalists had access, regular access to coaching. That coaching, and I think actually every industry, if people had access to coaching as part of their onboarding, and then, at seminal moments in the employee life cycle, now I'm going into OD, organizational development,
Please.
at seminal points during their life cycle, one as professionals and then two with particular organizations,
Mm.
I think we would find that people would be one, more productive, which is what every organization wants to hear.
Yeah.
There would be less attrition. There would be improved well-being and mental health, which means that you're retaining people. You're not
Mm.
paying as much to exit and onboard new people, but also that people are happy to give you their services because you've done your work, so you're a great employer as well.